Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Letting Go of Her podcast. First off, excuse my voice. It has been really hot the last couple of days, so we've been sleeping with like the air on, and so when I wake up, my voice or my throat is all scratchy, my voice is all funky. But I know that it's just the air. Maybe I should get our humidifier, but honestly, I don't really know where it is. But it's just that time of the season when it's like hot, but then it's like cold. So then you're like sleeping with the air, but then it's like not hot enough to sleep with the air. But then if you don't sleep with the air, then you're waking up sweating because you're hot. And so you leave it on. But then in the mornings it's cold. So then it's really freezing cold when you wake up in the morning. And it's just, it is just that season right now, and so itchy throats and scratchy voices is it's just kind of how we're gonna live for the next couple of weeks. I feel like I always get more sick during like the summer season. I don't know, like last summer I felt that I was sick like almost the entire summer, and then came fall and fall and winter, and then I think I got sick maybe like once or twice or so. But during the summer, I was sick a lot, which is weird. But I don't know. Maybe it's just the air and my allergies and whatnot, and it just makes it worse. Or maybe it's the heat and it dehydrates me more, so my immune system drops. I don't really know. But either way, I hope that everyone had a great Mother's Day. We did our yearly tradition of going to the beach on Mother's Day. But this time, my mom and my two sisters joined us, and everyone had a grand old time. And I don't want to say that I didn't have a good time, because I did, but I also had a panic attack towards the end of my trip. And it wasn't necessarily because of anything that happened. It was simply because I didn't eat well. I had breakfast before we left, and then we were there, and we were at the beach for like a couple of hours, maybe like 3-ish hours, and it takes us about an hour 20 minutes to drive down there. So that was like a good chunk of my time that I didn't actually eat anything. And by the time we had lunch, early dinner, it was about 4 o'clock. So by then my body was like, need food now, I could feel like, when your blood sugar drops and all the fun stuff. And so that was happening. Finally got some food in my system. But the food, it didn't have enough of what I needed it for, the lack of nutrition that I already had. Didn't have enough protein in it. But I ate it. I ate it regardless, and my stomach was already like bothering me because the night before we had gone out and I ate something that I shouldn't have eaten, but I was like, oh, I'll be fine. But obviously I was not fine, so I didn't want to add more to that. So I tried to find the cleanest thing that I could on the menu, but then it wasn't like enough food, and then it was just a hot mess. So I ended up having a panic attack towards the end. Then we got in the car, and it took me like a good hour to kind of like calm down. But yeah, it was just a combination of those things. But I will have to say that I am proud of myself for being able to kind of figure out why it was that I was feeling this way, right? And it wasn't because I was triggered, and it wasn't because of this or memories or whatever, whatnot. No, it was simply because I didn't eat. And I'm still working on when my body feels off because I haven't eaten, to not send myself into panic. But I was really proud at how I handled things yesterday, even if towards the end I almost snapped at my daughter. I didn't, but I almost did. She wanted to go on the rides, and we had just gone on some, and I was like, no. And I calmed myself down, and I was like, we got to go home. Mommy wants to go home now. And so we did. And my husband could tell that I wasn't feeling so well. So he was like, hey, you know what? No, we got to go home. We still have a lot of things to do. It's already getting late. I don't think we've ever stayed at the beach for that long. We got there about like 9:30 a.m. And then we were in the car by like 4:35 or so. Either way, we were there for a really long time. And it started to get really, really, really busy. And yeah, I don't really have a problem with crowds. Being in like very crowded places with people doesn't give me anxiety or anything. But yesterday, because I wasn't feeling good, it was starting to give me anxiety. I was just getting overwhelmed. And honestly, I'm not the biggest beach fan. I don't like being like wet and sandy and sticky and all that stuff, right? And then walking like on the sand, like that's a workout. And walking everywhere, it's just sandy, and like bathrooms are just like gross, and it's just not my thing. But it's something that my husband started doing for me, and it's something that the kids truly, truly enjoy. And honestly, like I'm okay with going to the beach once a year. I think we maybe go only once a year, maybe sometimes twice. So yeah, that was my Mother's Day. I had a fun time. I really did. Despite my panic attack, I did have I did have a wonderful time. But on today's episode, I want to talk about something that I have been feeling convicted about. This last week in my but at the women's group that we have at our church, they had a whole talk about anxiety. And it was because we're going over this book called Dwell. I don't know the title because I suck at this, remembering things. But it was a whole chapter on anxiety, and someone spoke on anxiety, right? And in the end, they played a song, and we had to write down all of the anxieties that we had and whatnot. And gave a playlist of like music that we can listen to when we're feeling anxious, right? Like worship songs that we can listen to when we're feeling anxious. And, everyone around me, or everyone who knows me, knows very clearly that I deal with anxiety. It's not something that I've hidden or kind of been ashamed about talking, right? Like this is my struggle, and I talk about my struggle in order to potentially help someone else who's struggling and doesn't know what to say, or doesn't know what to ask, or doesn't know how to handle it. So everyone around me is no stranger that I don't deal with anxiety. So, we were there, and talk was over and whatever. And then it's time for like discussion. And it was as if like everyone was looking at me. And it was as if, it was like, oh, did you hear that? Like, was that wonderful? Like, they had so many good pointers, like, like they were trying to be like encouraging, like, oh, see, listen, like you can handle your anxiety, like you can give it to God and your anxiety will go away, sort of a deal. It was supposed to be encouraging, and not that it wasn't, but I was thinking about it, and I was talking to my husband about it, and I was telling him how, like, for a second, I was like, I kind of got annoyed. And my husband was like, why did you get annoyed? And I'm like, I got annoyed because, like, this is all things that I've already heard. Like, I've already heard all the scriptures, right? There's 1 Peter 5:7, there's Philippians 4:7, right? Like, I've already memorized, I've already heard all the scriptures that talk about anxiety and cast your anxieties on him, or, with thanksgiving and supplication. Like, I've already have all those memorized, and I'm already doing all that stuff, right? So, like, in a sense, it like made me feel that like I wasn't doing enough, and it made me feel like I wasn't trying hard enough, right? Like that I wasn't willing to let go of my anxiety and give it to God so that God could take it away. That's what I ended up feeling like. And that wasn't anyone's intentions, but that was what was going through my mind. And so I prayed about it, and I was like, Lord, I know that everyone wants to help. Like, I know that everyone wants me to not feel this way and not have to deal with this. I know everyone has really good intentions. And I just kind of prayed, and I was like, well, I had a moment in a sense of like, what am I doing wrong? Like, am I not surrendering it all to you? Am I not casting all my anxieties on you? Am I not giving you enough thanksgiving? Am I not supplicating enough? Like what is it, right? And I thought about it more, and I think what happened was I was more so annoyed that I had somehow become the spokeswoman for anxiety. Like when someone talks about anxiety or someone mentions anxiety, then I'm the person that people look at, right? And I talk about it with good intentions. I don't talk about it for the attention. I talk about it because anxiety isn't really something that's talked about in the church. A lot of the times when you mention that you have anxiety, it's very like, give it to God, let it go, don't worry about it, don't fear, the Lord is with you. And nothing that anyone ever says is truly ever helpful. And I realized that I was annoyed because I had become a spokeswoman for anxiety. And I was like, God doesn't call us to be spokespeople for anything other than to be a spokesperson for him. And I was like, when people think about me, when people think about Maria, right? Like, do they think, oh, the girl who deals with anxiety? Or when people think about me, do they think, oh, the girl who loves Jesus? And I kind of just sat with that. And I was like, man, like, have I been doing this all wrong this entire time? Like, I don't want people to like look at me and sympathize, and I don't want people to look at me and pity me, and I don't want people to think that they need to somehow like fix me. I want people to look at me and be like, wow, like despite what she's going through, she always gives it to Jesus. And despite what she's going through, she always surrenders it to Jesus. And despite what she's going through, she always loves Jesus. So I guess in a sense, maybe I want to apologize. I don't really know. I think in a sense, maybe, yeah, I don't really know. But it's just something that started to feel heavy on my heart, where it was like, am I not portraying the love of Jesus enough for people to know that I love Jesus? Like when people see me, do they say like, wow, that is someone who loves Jesus? And it's funny because this last week sermon and over at the college group, there was a lot of talk about like, what is your badge, right? Like, how do people know that you're a Christian? How do people know that you love Jesus, right? And it was about love. It was like, well, we don't necessarily have like a stamp on our forehead that says, I am a Christian, I am a believer, I follow Jesus, right? And sure, you can wear Jesus t-shirts or, I don't know, cross necklaces, the little fish necklaces or whatever, right? Like you can wear your WWJD bracelet, like, and those are very, I don't know, strong or recognizable symbols of like, oh man, this person's a Christian, right? But, our pastor was talking about how like, what is your badge? And your badge should be like how you love others, right? Like you should love others as Jesus loved others. And it just like made me think like, am I so consumed in myself? Am I so consumed in my own anxiety that I'm not loving others enough to the point where they look at me, they just think like, wow, that chick deals with anxiety. Not like, wow, that chick really just loves me and loves others and really tries to love other people like Jesus. I don't want to be the spokesperson for anxiety anymore. I want to be the spokesperson for Jesus. And I know even just declaring that is not going to magically take the anxiety away. Like, I know that it's not. Jesus promised we would have trials and tribulations and hardships and everything. And maybe this is just the way that I am meant to suffer on earth. And I have come to terms with that. I'm like, okay, you know what? This is what I got to deal with. And this is what I'm going to deal with, right? Like, this is very minimal in comparison to what it is I deserve to deal with. I did that episode on idolizing a pain-free life, right? And I mentioned how, when we look at the longer scheme of things, like, we have truly not really suffered at all. And as I was thinking about that episode, I was like, we haven't suffered at all. Our sufferings, even if they are painful, even if they do seem like a lot, even if we do question why it is that it's happening to us, we don't suffer what we deserve because Jesus took care of that. We've never been spat on. We've never been whipped. We've never been nailed to a cross. We've never had a thorn crown on our heads. We've never taken our last breath in front of everyone, being humiliated while our friends deny us, while our friends are too afraid, while our friends run away. We have never suffered what we have always deserved to suffer because Jesus took care of that for us. So if in this life, on this side of heaven, my suffering is that my heart races a little bit, that my heart palpitates, that I feel that I can't catch my breath, that I just feel uneasy and overstimulated, I will take that because Jesus took the punishment. Jesus took the suffering that I truly deserve on this side of heaven. And I pray and I hope that when people think of me, they don't think of me as someone who has anxiety, but as someone who accepts their anxiety and still always keeps her eyes on Jesus. And that the love of Jesus just like pours out of me by the way that I interact with other people, by the way that I talk about or to other people, the way that I serve other people, the way that I mentor or minister to other people. I pray that one day when people look at me, they say, that's someone who is a spokesperson for Jesus. So I'm going to take a minute for everyone who's listening to kind of reflect. What are you a spokesperson for? What is it that you talk more about? What is it that your thoughts consume more of? What is it that you spend your time doing more than being a spokesperson for Jesus or for spending time with Jesus? We all have different little idols, and not even little, but we all have different things that we always tend to put in front of God, whether we intentionally do it or we subconsciously do it. Like I said, I thought that me talking about anxiety would help others, and that's not to say that it hasn't or that it won't or that it couldn't, but I don't want to talk about that more than I talk about Jesus. And I don't want to talk about that more than I talk about how Jesus has redeemed me and how Jesus has saved me And Jesus does redeem me, and Jesus does save me every single time I have anxiety, every single time I have a panic attack. Because at one point, it goes away. And at one point, I'm okay. I literally talked about this to my husband last night. I was like, isn't it funny? I'm like, isn't it funny how anxiety just works? I'm like, 5 hours ago, I thought I was going to die because I couldn't catch my breath. My heart wouldn't stop. I thought I was just going to pass out. I thought oh my goodness, this is the end. And 5 hours later, I'm sitting here on the couch, perfectly fine, perfectly calm. We're sitting here, we're watching TV, we're having a conversation, and I'm fine. It's as if that never happened. It was as if it just was like a dream almost. I'm like, but that was reality. That was my reality 5 hours ago. I was feeling all of those things in my body, and now I'm okay. And you can't tell me that that's not the peace that Jesus promises. That at one point in your day, at one point of your crazy filled, busy scheduled day, that you don't take a moment to just be and feel God's presence in the midst of the chaos. So this week, I hope and I pray that you can take a moment to ask Jesus, what is it that I'm a spokesperson for? What is it that is preventing me from being a spokesperson for you? What am I giving more time to? What am I giving more effort to? What is it that I'm trying to achieve by talking or about doing or about thinking more about this than I talk or do or think about you? And I pray that it can be a soft conviction. I don't know if that's a thing. Because when we pray prayers like this, sometimes it hits us hard. I remember multiple times when people have prayed these prayers over me, reveal what idols are in her heart. And man, was it brutal. But it wasn't brutal in a bad way. It was wow, I didn't even realize it. Sometimes we're just so blinded by our own sin that we don't even realize what it is that we're putting in front of God. So my prayer is that you have some sort of soft conviction over what it is you're being a spokesperson over being a spokesperson to Jesus. Today, I am learning to let go of my need to always talk about anxiety, of my need to get it out, of my need to talk to other people about it for sympathy, for pity, for a reaction. Today I'm learning to let go of being a spokesperson for anxiety. There's plenty of people who speak about anxiety. There's plenty of people who are spokespeople for anxiety. And that is a very, very worldly thing and a worldly view. I want to be a spokesperson for Jesus. And in the midst of my anxiety, that even though I have anxiety, that people know me as someone who loves Jesus first and not as someone who has anxiety first. Because I am a new creation.